This piece captures a immediate, unfiltered clash between high expectations, religious symbolism, personal desire, and abrupt rejection. Here is a deep breakdown of the psychological mechanisms, narrative structure, and thematic layers at play in this text. The structural framework, sacred versus profane. The writing uses a sharp, intentional contrast between sacred high culture / scripture and raw, contemporary grievance. The theological framing, John chapter 10, verse 1. Opening with the quote about entering the sheep pen by the gate versus climbing in as a thief and a robber, sets up an immediate moral paradigm. In the writer's mind, there is a right way to enter someone's life or relationship sphere. The scripture acts as a psychological armor, framing the situation not just as a petty romantic disappointment, but as a violation of proper order and mutual respect. The title, Milk and Honey, historically symbolic of the promised land, abundance, and ultimate fulfillment. Juxtaposing this title with a story of emotional misalignment creates immediate irony. The situation promised sweetness, but delivered friction. Psychological breakdown, defense mechanisms, and dynamics. 1. The entitlement versus minimalization paradox. The narrative wrestles with what feels like a small request to the narrator versus a boundary for the other person. I'm not asking too much, it's my birthday, it's a simple request. The narrator minimizes the ask, just for service. I wouldn't ask you to keep going, to justify feeling wronged. When someone rejects a request that the speaker has internally coded as harmless, the rejection feels like a personal slight rather than a simple difference in values. 2. Objectification and trophy framing. I just wanted to parade you around as my GF. There is a strikingly candid admission here. The desire wasn't necessarily deep spiritual alignment, acknowledged by, I don't care that you don't do church, but status and presentation. The connection offered a aesthetic or social prize, contrasting the 6 piercings and weed stamp card with the traditional environment of a church service. 3. Cognitive dissonance and the volatile splitting. Dumb hoe. Sorry, you're not a hoe, you're just inconsiderate and stupid. This immediate correction is the most psychological point in the piece. It shows the real-time fight between raw anger and rational self-monitoring. The reflex is to degrade the source of pain, dumb hoe, followed immediately by an attempt to ground the insult into something more accurate, inconsiderate and stupid, to maintain intellectual control over the emotion. 4. Ego-protective rationalization. Sour grapes. I don't even remember what song it was that you and I clicked with. So I guess it wasn't meant to be anyway. To protect the ego from the sting of being turned down on a birthday, the brain swiftly invalidates the original spark. By erasing or claiming to forget the shared memory, the song, the narrative strips the connection of its value, making the rejection feel meaningless instead of hurtful. Atmospheric and aesthetic elements. Subculture collision. The imagery of a weed stamp card and 6 piercings, contrasting with first service and biblical citations, paints a vivid picture of 2 entirely different worlds trying to overlap for a single morning. Audio/visual context. The background track, Fog by Mr. Kitty, and the visual of a spinning record/drain motif, hashtag the world is Avenal record, reinforce a sense of dark synth-pop melancholia, repetitive thinking, and being caught in a loop of reflection. It reads as a sharp, honest snapshot of modern frustration, where the ideal version of a relationship in one's head crashes hard into the stubborn reality of another person's boundaries.